Welcome back, my friend, my homie. The part two of our last drawing of the year 2025. Look at that. It would seem that we made progress. And since our technique has developed somewhat, we know what must be done. So it's time to draw. You know, let's see. Homie, for the youngers at home, hmm, and for those just getting a threshold in their life, there comes a time in every working adult's life where they gotta decide how they want to get paid. But that is a decision that is made for working adults that decide to work for others, like those that decide to work for corporations or businesses, whether it be like a corporate business or family owned. You still got to make this decision. Someone still has to make this decision for themselves. The question that they must ask themselves is that, do they want to get paid with a direct deposit whenever they work hours of their lives away for a check? Or do they want a physical paper check? What is a check? A check is a check is simply a paper document signed by a business or a corporation that with a dollar amount that you take to a bank, your bank, of course, and after you deposit your check into your bank or your ATM or a front desk receptionist, then you get paid that amount of money. Like, for instance, let's say, by the way, for this example, I'm not gonna include taxes because for for every for every adult or person working their first time and seeing taxes, trust me, you'll learn fast. I don't know about doing taxes, but like when you see how much money taxes take out of your paycheck, you'll learn. Um, let's see. What point was I trying to make? Oh yes. On to the main point. You got to determine if you want like you got to determine if every working adult has to determine if they want to get paid either by a paper check where they got to physically take the paper check from their employer on their pay period, whether you get paid weekly, which is every week, or bi-weekly. Bi-weekly, bi-week, bi-weekly is a term for you get paid once every 2 weeks. It's just that that's how they write it down on like employer sheets. So it's good to know that whenever you yourself hired at a job. For those who don't go to business owner route. But whether you choose to get paid with a physical check or direct deposit, which direct deposit is like whenever you let's say your employer pays you once a week, they simply just send the money virtually directly into your bank account. Whether you get direct deposit or a paper check, you still gotta have a bank account though. This is just very important and a necessary thing to have as an adult, even if you choose to use cash for your day-to-day purchases. This is just a very necessary thing. Let's see. I don't know how it is in other countries, but I know in the United States, as a young adult with two bank accounts, I can at least tell you, whenever you open up your bank account, you're gonna need a few things. It's basically the requirements that you must. There are requirements in order to open up a bank account, but very simple though, because the same requirements to open up a bank account. That basically what you'll need to um uh to get a job. You need your photo ID, whether that be like a state ID or a driver license. You need a your social security number. You also need that for whenever you get yourself a job. Let's see. You need contact information like your phone number and your email address. Also very necessary. You need proof of residency, meaning you have to put like a physical address. Proof of residency is like if you live on a physical location, you have to put that whenever you open up a bank account, whenever you get a job too. Then you're gonna need yourself a mailing address. The mailing address is important because whenever you get done with like getting approved, whenever they send you any paper documents, like let's say if you're getting your debit card shipped out to you for your first time in your life, the mailing address is where all your important documents are going to be sent. Let's see. Also, you might need like maybe just a couple of dollars, It's not bad to have like maybe like $50 if you're trying to open up a bank account. Because of like some bank accounts, they be like, you need to deposit like a minimum amount into your checkings account, which a checkings account is basically a bank account that is used for the purpose of like day-to-day purchases. Like let's say if you have a if you have a card connected to your savings account and you try and go to get McDonald's, you might not get approved of that purchase. But if you have a checking account, the whole purpose of a checking account is for money to be going in and out of it, which is why they want you to deposit money at the start. So if you're trying to get your bills paid, like let's say you're trying to pay for your phone bill, then that's what you're gonna need that checking account for. You're trying to get groceries, you're gonna need that checking account. Trying to go see, you're trying to take your significant other out to go to a restaurant, and then you know it. You see, if you know what you're doing, you're going to take them out to go to a restaurant, and then afterwards you want to have a wonderful sweet shop planned out. Like let's say maybe an ice cream shop. Yeah, trust me. For all the brothers playing League of Legends that understand pathing, the pathing that you want to take on a date when taking her to a restaurant, you take her to a restaurant, right? Then you go to a sweet shop, maybe a cookie shop, maybe an ice cream shop. But once you get that pathing down, then that's gonna serve as your foundation for taking ladies on dates. And then, and then everything else will be up to you from there, because every lady is special. But that makes the world an interesting place. So it's up to you as a person to learn about how you need to nurture the soul of the person that you're with. And if you could nurture it for a lifetime, then you could probably have a long-term relationship. And if you're capable of making a long-term relationship, then you're capable of being a husband material, or at least boyfriend material, or at least a relationship material. As long as you can find anywhere to start, and you could just become better. But it's good to be able to nurture souls, even as a man. Even more so as a man, because you gotta nurture the soul of your significant other, or at least everybody that you like. Why did I go through that effort to list the documents necessary to open up a bank account and a checking account? It's a necessary thing. It's necessary skills because it's a necessary skill as an adult that you should know. That everybody should know. So if this exact location on the interweb ever receives virtual traffic, it's a good skill to know if you don't know this. Especially if you're a youngin just starting off in life. You could take a list, and once you understand the importance of all these documents, you could just scoop them up one after another. Yeah, but this is a drawing session, so I'm gonna make sure to increase my focus. Savings accounts are good for saving money. Like, I know if you have a savings account, maybe you will have like I know like the better percentage of savings account, they'll maybe let you save guaranteed 5% every like year when it comes to on the interest. Like let's say if I put like $10,000 in a savings account. Speaking of which, I don't got it like that yet. Like I don't got just $10,000 laying around, but like I'm just saying for example, if I had $10,000 and I put it into like a savings account with like a 5% yield, that would mean at the end of the year, that $10,000 would give me $500 passively. So at the end of I'll start the year with $10,000 in that 5% yield savings account. But at the end of the year, I'll have $10,500 because that's 5%, 10,000. That's why it is very good. But for the folks that want to save a higher amount, there are a lot of individuals in life that make stock accounts their savings account. I am one of those individuals. Why? Because a person is able to if they know what if a person knows what they're doing with stocks, then they're able to get a lot more than just 5% return of investment like each year. I know my best year I was able to get a good 60% of the total amount of money that I invested in a year's time frame from investing into index funds and ETFs. What is the index funds or what is the ETF? Same thing, but their index fund is like a let's say an index fund is like a computer that makes a stock portfolio and it just tracks it. But since it's a computer that's tracking it, they kind of don't got to pay it as much, so they just so it's like a computer that tracks a stock portfolio. One of the more popular index funds is a thing called the S&P 500, which is a computer that tracks the top 500 earning companies in the United States. It is considered one of the better investments in the stock industry or the investor community. If a company ever the way an index fund works is by buying a single index fund, you get exposure to the top 500 companies of the United States. And if that and if maybe number 500 number 500 of the top 500 earning companies went bankrupt, then the computer would just automatically kick out the bankrupt company, and the new top 500 company, the new top 500th company with the top with like the highest earning in the United States country, it would automatically get replaced with that one. Because it is, whenever somebody buys an index fund, you don't ever really go bankrupt. You just gotta know which is the right index fund to choose. For most, that's considered to be a no-brainer. They'll choose like the S&P 500. But for a skilled young men like myself that's been investing for years, I just have the ability to choose uh, what index funds or ETFs benefit me the most for the portfolio that I'm giving. Let's see. In 2023, let's see, I invested a good like $600 when it comes to like $600 in investments, like just like 10% of my income every weekly check. Sometimes I miss some, but like at the end of the year, $600 was the amount that I deposited, and at the end of that year, I had a good stock portfolio worth $977. So definitely a lot more than 5%, which would be like an online bank. Oh, by the way, I was able to acquire that by investing into these three index funds: VTI. Of course, you can always look up these index funds if you want. This is a video, so I'm gonna erase these afterwards. But VTI, VXUS, and USRT. VTI is like a computer that tracks like a few thousand companies that make up the US economy. So when you invest into VTI, you're basically betting that the US economy is going to go up over time. So I profited a lot with that one. VXUS is like international an international a computer that tracks international stocks in Europe. Yeah, since I have a lot of respect for many countries in Europe in their financial gains. So yeah, that gave me like actually my portfolio made up like of the 10% of money that I gained in that time frame. I like let's say I had like let's say I had a paycheck of $400. I took 10% of that paycheck, and of that $40, 80% of it I would invest into VTI. That was like the biggest portion of my portfolio. The other 10% was like VXUS, and the last 10% was USRT. VXUS makes up like companies in a computer that tracks companies in Europe. VTI is a computer that tracks companies, a few thousand companies in United States. And USRT is like a computer that tracks United States REITs. By the way, when I said REIT, this is what I mean by REIT. This word. REIT. What is a REIT, you might say? A REIT is a company that formed on the basis of buying real estate. And the thing about companies that formed on the basis of buying real estate, by law, like a lot of them, they have to. Let's see. I don't know if this is still true, but I'm gonna tell y'all exactly what I remember, according to my memory. But of course, I'm comfortable with being wrong. So if you ever need to correct me in the comment section, by all means, help a brother out and help and save a lot of future souls from having misinformation. A REIT by law has to send out 80% of their earnable income in the form of dividends. That is what is a REIT. What is a dividend? A dividend is like if a company has a lot of money left over, and after, like, first off, there's this thing called quarters in a year for a company. Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. You understand quarters of the year by once every 3 months of a year. January, February, March, that's Q1. April, May, June, Q2. July, August, September, Q3. October, November, and December, Q4. At the end of each Q, a lot. There are some companies that pay out dividends, and a dividend is like money that a company pays out to their shareholders. A shareholder is someone that buys partial ownership of a company. What is a stock? Partial ownership of a company. So meaning there are some companies where if you buy their stock, they'll pay you in like one of the 4 quarters, like, each quarter of the year to just own the stock, which is very good because you create your account in a way that every time you get paid a dividend for just the holding the stock, and you create it so that it just buys more of the stock that you're investing into, then what you're able to create is what is known as a compound interest in the investing world. That is very good for building generational wealth whenever you do use the strategies for years at a time. Of course, 1 year you're able to see very good results, but the way that people are able to reach over $100,000 into millions is you use a strategy for maybe 15, 20 years, 30 years by not selling any of your stock in time and letting it build up. You create a lot of wealth. And then eventually you could probably just live off of passive dividends, like after maybe 2 decades of doing this strategy. Of course, this is not an overnight strategy, but this is an exit plan for some individuals for working. And if you sell the stock, this is why I prefer long term investing over day trading. due to eventually getting to that point of owning a lot of dividend paying stocks. Personally, I prefer in this situation, I feel like every young working adult that is first getting into the strategy should open up a Roth IRA uh, over and focus on maxing out their Roth IRA over maxing out their 401k. Why? Why? Why do I believe that? Because with a 401k, a lot of companies will match you each dollar that you pay into the 401k. But whenever you take your profit in the future, the tax brackets that you are work in from your working job is tax on your profit. But 401ks are very good though. Whenever you know the consequences of having a 401k. But that's why I say it's better to max out your Roth IRA over a 401k, because let's say I have a paycheck and my paycheck gets taxed, and I'm salty about the amount of taxes that is taken from my paycheck. Although I am salty, what I didn't have in my hand is a after tax paycheck. If you have a Roth IRA and you invest, if I have a Roth IRA and you invest after tax dollars into a Roth IRA, as long as you do not like sell for profit and you wait till like 64 and a half years old, then you could take your profit at that age and your money would be able to grow tax free, unlike a 401k, which whenever you take your profit at 74 and a half, then you have to pay according to your tax bracket. Of course, the government knows this, which is why they try and limit it to only investing $6,000 into, after 2025, you can only invest $6,000 into a Roth IRA, while with a 401k, since they know they could tax that, you can invest over $20,000, which I recommend when investing into stocks. You first want to get to a habit of maxing out your Roth IRA over maxing out your 401k. Why do I tell you this? Just to give everybody more options, financial options. I'm very happy with the strategy that I've put together in 2023, and that I use myself and test it, and I'm very happy with it. So I just wanted to share it all to y'all, so y'all have complete freedom to like advertise that strategy, use it yourself, sell it. It's whatever, really. If they ever come to here and find it and find that knowledge, it's free. And I think knowledge is meant to be shared, so it's free. But yeah, if that helps you, then good for you. If not, then maybe it'll help somebody else. Well, this is a drawing stream, so we done with the progress that we need to do today. Homie, appreciate you for spending time with me. Our stream has come to an end for today, but it's always awesome hanging out with you, spending time with the homies. So I won't keep you for any more time today. Homies on YouTube and homie beside me, wherever y'all from, wherever you are, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good night to you. Peace out.